And that goes right back to the whole concept of why spirit comes in. It's because they want to bring through that transformational healing. They want to bring through that love. They want to bring through the fact that, yes, they still are very much alive. It's just that instead of being in the visual, they're now in the non-visual. Instead of being in the clearly audible, they're now in a place where you can't really hear them as well as you used to. The analogy I always tell people is just imagine them being in the room over there with the door closed. You can't see them, can't hear them, but you sure know they're there. Mm-hmm. They haven't gone anywhere. They just happen to be in a dimension that you can't see, hear, or touch. Mm-hmm. It's not like they've changed. They're still just alive. It's just they're in a different dimension. Imagine them being permanently on vacation down in the Caribbean, having a grand old time, and they are just having a wonderful, relaxed, non-burdened time where they're filled with love.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 126 of Toward a Better Life. It's the podcast featuring like-minded people sharing their stories, ideas, and activities on what we can do to generate a better life individually and collectively. In today's world, there truly is a need to seek balance, harmony, compassion, kindness on so many levels, personally, culturally, spiritually, to name them, but it all begins with each one of us as an individual. And that's what I like to share in this podcast, from the micro to the macro, from around the world, seeking others of the same spirit and heart and mind. This is the platform, a school, a venue to begin and continue your journey toward wholeness and harmony. I also offer an opportunity for you to share your prose, music, poetry, or storytelling on the show. Just send the information to me, Kevin@towardabetterlife.com, and we'll get you on. Please subscribe to the program if you haven't done so already through your favorite podcast platform, and keep following for weekly magical insights into earth-based spirituality, self-development, and self-care. Also, remember to support the program by leaving your review on Apple and Spotify podcasts. It only takes a moment to leave that review. And please visit my website, towardabetterlife.com. You can also contact me to learn more about your free discovery call to help you on your journey to begin your journey toward a better life. Send all inquiries again to me, Kevin@towardabetterlife.com. Chris Lippincott is an international psychic medium, spiritual teacher, best-selling author, and the host of the Spirits Beside Us podcast. Chris is my guest on this episode of Toward a Better Life. Through his evidential readings and unique insights from spirit, Chris has transformed lives by providing comfort, healing, and the profound reassurance that our loved ones in spirit remain close and continue to care for us. His mission is to elevate the spiritual awareness of humanity by sharing Spirit's healing messages through his mediumship, teachings, books, and frequent podcast appearances. As a trance medium, Chris channels messages of love and healing from his spirit guides, offering listeners a direct link to Spirit's wisdom. Chris also teaches the fundamentals of mediumship, guiding those on their spiritual journey toward a deeper understanding of spirit and the afterlife. So, all that being said, let's dive in to my chat with Chris Lippincott as we explore communing with spirit guides for a better life. Today, I'm truly thankful to invite Chris Lippincott onto the program. Chris, it's great to have you with us here, and we're going to be talking about some psychic stuff and some spirit stuff and really cool stuff. So how are you?
Hey, Kevin, it's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah. So before we got going, everyone, I had shared with Chris that for years, I can't say how many years, I have shared that, we have spirits all around us, and those spirits can be what we would say as human, or we can talk about them, they were once human. We can talk about the spirits of animals and everything, and they're all here to help us, and they're all accessible. And sometimes we might not believe that, but Chris has a podcast that kind of sums it up. Spirits Beside Us. So, yeah. So, Chris, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and let's kind of see where it goes from there.
Well, sure. I guess my background perhaps is a little bit different because I came from a very materialistic, Gnostic background, which, when you begin to think about it, it kind of shows that anybody can connect with spirit, anybody can become a medium, anybody has this because it's all innate within us. I mean, I came from a background where I was on Wall Street for years, and it wasn't until I started having these experiences where I had to do something, I found out that, oh my gosh, I'm taking the stress out on my family, and I had to calm down. I stumbled onto this concept of meditation, which at the time I thought was a foreign idea. I thought you had to be like in the Hindu Kush, sitting in the mountains somewhere.
You're not? Oh, I thought that's what we were supposed to do. Just a second. Let me get my robe off and we can talk.
Totally. And so that's what I was thinking. So I was like, this is never going to work. So yeah, I'm stumbling back and forth. And eventually I come on this track that had, it was really calm. It didn't have an agenda, and it's really relaxed. I'm like, oh, I think I can get used to this. I can listen to it. And it was so calming. It was only 15 minutes or something. So I'd listen to it before I went to work. And it was so calming, I started getting addicted to it before I went to work. I'm like, I can't go to work without listening to this thing. So I do that every day. And just, I was like, oh, this is really great. But the thing was, because I was addicted to it, I kept on listening to it every day for up to 12 months. And I didn't really realize quite what I was doing, except the fact that, it felt good. And
they did, Chris. Go on.
Exactly. Isn't it funny how that specific track found me? I mean, it was like all the books that kind of stacked up in front of me. Yeah, Spirit had a very different agenda than I did, certainly. They were kind of recruiting me, and I didn't know it.
Yeah.
So I'm listening to this thing, and 12 months into it, I'm in my man cave, because, as you know, every guy's got to have his man cave, right? And I go into the meditation for like 30 minutes, and 30 minutes in, all of a sudden I start having this, I guess what you could refer to as an out-of-body experience, right? I feel myself lifted up out of my body, as I'm also seeing these silhouettes of 4 beings in front of me in my mind's eye. I'm thinking to myself, this must be a lovely dream. And I'm seeing these people, and, 2 on my left, 2 on my right. But then all of a sudden, the guy all the way, I'm assuming it's a guy, all the way on my right-hand side, shoots what felt like a beam of energy going right through my chest, out through my back. But I could feel it physically. I'm like, wait, I'm not asleep? This is not a dream? What's going on? And that's when it took me even farther out. And the next thing I know, I'm having this experience where I'm somewhere out in the universe. I'm connected with this, what felt like a tapestry. I was like a thread in a tapestry, and we're all interconnected. We're all woven in this tapestry that's kept on going on ad infinitum. And then I started connecting with what I guess was source or something, this ultimate love, this incredible unconditional love. And like, it kept on saying, you're perfect. I'm like, wait a second. You don't know what I've done in my life. There's no way I'm perfect. No. But it kept on coming. You're perfect as you are. Yes. And this unconditional love, the word love in the human language is kind of like that top 1% of the iceberg that you see above the water. This was the other 99% that we never experience. I was like, wow, I couldn't even put a word to it. It was that beyond my comprehension. I guess I might refer to it as perhaps perfect acceptance. It's the only thought I can come up with. Anyway, so I came out of it and ran to my desk, scribbled everything down. But soon thereafter, I started having all these experiences. Like, I could feel energy all around me. I could hear voices all around me. And I started feeling exactly like I was when I was like 6 years old. Because when I was 6 years old, exactly the same stuff was happening, right? Yep. I mean, all children have that ability because they're open. It's not like they have a no. Yeah. They don't have a logical mind. It's all creative. So it's like the portal reopened. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening to me? I'm hearing these voices and feeling these people to me. And I started thinking to myself, wait a second, there are only 2 types of people in the world that either do this. They're either these master gurus or they're crazy. Well, I'm not a master guru. Oh my God, I'm going crazy. I immediately thought I was crazy.
I totally get it.
Yeah. And I eventually, started, I had, being the research analyst I was, I had to go deep diving into what was going on, started learning, oh, wait a second, this is mediumship, you're connecting with spirit, et cetera, et cetera. So then I had to know more about it. I started taking classes and it kind of went down the rabbit hole and started learning all about it. And one thing led to the next. I was like, oh my gosh, Spirit has recruited me. I'm now connecting with Spirit. And it just was off to the races ever since then.
Mm-hmm. Sounds about right to me.
Exactly. They had a very different agenda, no doubt.
Yeah, they do. Well, I've often said too that if you want to make the gods laugh, tell them your plans.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Or it's very similar to like, wait a second, I signed up for this soul contract on Earth. What was I thinking?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Exactly.
Latch on, kids.
Yeah.
We're on a roller coaster.
It was totally.
So we have fun with it, and I appreciate the way that we've started this conversation off, Chris, because we can't be all serious about this. I mean, we take it seriously, but it's not okay. We're just going to go and do this, and we're going to be very, very quiet. We're going to set up a seance. We're going to do it.
No, I mean, Spirit's got a sense of humor. Spirit is very funny.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, look at us.
Look what they've done with us, exactly. But every time Spirit comes through, they come through with a sense of humor. They are very funny because they don't have to deal with the human garbage that we go through every day. Because we're kind of like knuckle draggers walking along the planet. They've got a much. They're able to laugh. We aren't.
Yeah, that's it. And that's I can remember times where I've done readings with people, and the person at the other side, the spirit on the other side, they come across with stuff that's completely out of left field.
Oh yeah.
And it is downright hilarious when you bring it up and you share it with your person, with your client, whatever you want to call them, and they'll just, you just see the expression on their face, and then they'll say it. How did you know that? Yeah. And I just look at them. I said, I didn't.
Exactly.
But Aunt Emma does.
Oh yeah. Or they'll come through in a way that is their quintessential personality, because we know personalities never change. And that reminds me of the exact time I was doing a reading for a woman, and her significant other comes through, and the first thing he does as he's coming in is he kind of saunters up to me with a beer mug in his hand and goes, "Hey, you want to have one?" I'm dying with laughter. I'm like going, I got this guy here who's sauntering up to me with a beer mug in his hand. He goes, "Hey, want to have a Frosty?" Or something like that. And I'm dying. And this woman immediately knew who it was for that very personality. And that's the way they do it. They come through with their personality.
And that's the thing that you look for, really. And I'm going to say this from doing readings with people. When people are looking for someone to help them, and they really do want to connect with that loved one, they really do want to connect, and I'll say with their spirit guide or what have you, what they want to know, particularly if it's someone that they knew before, is when that person that they knew before knows little tiny things. And if you've been working with people long enough, and you did it inadvertently in the financial industry, but you can read people and you can see stuff in people. And that's sometimes what people that do readings can be accused of. Well, you're just really good at people. Anyone could have answered that question.
Or a cold reading, or whatever.
Yeah. But then that person that comes through from the other side, and they throw the curveball at you of, "Hey, you want a cold one?" And it just completely floors them, and they say, "Okay, now I believe you. Now I understand. Here's the word. Now I trust you with what it is that you have to say."
Oh yeah, and it's like they're coming out of the gates shooting, and there's like boom, and it's ever from that point on, it's flowing. You're connected with them so strongly. I mean, not only that, but because we were all laughing, Spirit, me, and the client, we were all laughing. The vibration rose so high that just strengthened the connection so much more that after that, the information was like a flood. I was like, this is insane. And there was so much information he was bringing through. Boom, 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 boom. And every single thing was a gold nugget. And every single thing was something that there's no way that I even either A, knew what he was talking about, or B, it was something that the client didn't even, never share with anybody else.
Yeah. And it's interesting when we do stuff like this, and you probably have seen it, that they're usually words of encouragement as opposed to words of woe and warning.
Always. Yeah, so they're always coming through with love, and the ultimate purpose is transformational healing because they're trying
Yes.
to bring love and healing to their loved one who's still, here in the physical because they know there's pain, they know there's hurt, and they're trying to bring through that change, that transformation, and which is why it's so beautiful working with spirit because not only that's what they're trying to do, but you
Hmm.
can see the transformation from a person who comes in with a heavy heart, sorrow, darkness, to leaving this transformed person, light on their face, a smile, tears of joy. It's night and day.
Yeah. So we both listen to podcasts. It's just part of what we do.
Mm.
And I'm going to throw one out. We Can Be Weirdos. That's a podcast. Origin is in the UK, and it's quite good. But one of the things he talks about in there, he has a series of questions, just like I do at the end of the program. And heads up, I'll even let you think about it now, even though I don't usually do that, Chris. But
Oh,
at,
I
at,
feel
at,
honored.
at the end of the program, I always ask people, what do you do to create a better life for yourself?
Ooh, love it.
And so just write that down, file it away. We'll talk about it in a while. So the thing that he likes to ask is he asks them very pointed questions like, what are your thoughts on ghosts? And what are your thoughts about the spirit world? What are your thoughts about spiritualism and or being spiritual? So I'm going to start it off with only because I'm thinking that, have you ever had an experience with a quote, quote, ghost?
With a ghost, no, but all my other family members have. I feel left out.
But when you think about it, when we're talking with those on the other side, could they be ghosts in
Um,
in some regard?
I technically, I guess you could refer. It also depends on your definition of what ghost really means. Because
Hmm.
if I'm talking to spirit and
Hmm.
somebody's seeing a ghost, is that ghost a spirit, and therefore am I talking to a ghost? Are they one and the same thing? If that's the case, I'm having conversations with ghosts every day.
Hmm.
Do I need to see them with my physical eyes? No, because
Okay.
I already trust and surrender to them. I already know they're there. I
Hmm.
already acknowledge them. Perhaps many of the reasons why a quote unquote ghost might appear to somebody, materialize in somebody's vision, is so that they can prove to that person beyond a shadow of a doubt that they're in front of them and they want to show them. Many times when somebody passes, a ghost might show up. I don't want to call it a ghost. A person who has transitioned may show up in front of somebody as sort of a way of saying, just wanted to let you know, I'm okay. I'm
Yeah.
leaving. Here I
Yep.
am. Whether that's somebody who's at the foot of a bed and somebody wakes up and goes, hey, there's Granny. Or somebody sees like this apparition walking up the steps of a building as somebody turns around and sees him going up, which happened to my wife's grandmother, I guess. And it's just a way of showing somebody that something's actually happening. In many cases, that person who is seeing it may not have necessarily had the belief.
Hmm.
They believe now.
Yeah. And you kind of wonder, you talked earlier about the personality part, and I think that the spirits around us have a very, I'm going to use the word innate, even though it doesn't sound like it would be, but I think they have an innate ability to really pick up on what's the best way I can use to communicate with this person.
Oh God, yeah,
Is
absolutely.
it
Because
is it
yeah,
is it is it going to be a visual? Is it going to
yes,
be moving a plate across the floor? Is it going to
yes.
be a sound? What
Hmm.
is it going to be? Or even a smell? I've heard that, smells are powerful. They are real all these different ways, but we have to be sensitive enough to realize they're not necessarily going to communicate with us in just one way.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you hit the nail on the head because each person is going to perceive information that's coming through in a different way, and spirit knows that. And
Mm.
the perfect case in point is, well, just with the way most mediums develop. I know it's the way develop is the majority of people on the planet are very visual. I'd
Yep.
say probably 70% have a visual acuity that's stronger than the other senses.
Hmm.
So when spirit begins to work with a person who's in development, they will work with their clairvoyance because that's their strongest sense. And they're used to seeing things. So they're going to work with the clairvoyance so they can see things in their minds. And
Hmm.
that's certainly the way it worked with me. I work with clairvoyance and I work with clairsentience and then clairempathy. And it's kind of went down the whole path. And then people will come through to me now in the strongest way that they know how. Because for me, when a spirit comes through as a personality, it's so visceral. It's like they're painting themselves back to life. They're painting themselves back into 3D. They're here. They're a person. I mean, how would you describe your best friend to somebody else?
Hmm.
You wouldn't say, well, he's 5'2" and he wears brown clothing and he's got blue eyes and he likes to smoke. No, you'd describe their personality. What are they like inside? What do they like to do? What are their hobbies? What are their quirks? What are the things that they do? Who
Hmm.
are they?
Yeah.
That's what you paint back to 3D, and spirit knows that's the most powerful thing you can do. Like that guy with the beer mug, within a split second, he identified himself. We didn't need anything else.
Yeah.
It was that simple.
And how often do you ever run into it when you've got a client and that connection was made and it was very, very solid. Your beer mug guy is very, very solid. And then at some point, maybe during the reading, he conveys to the person, just pay attention because I am closer than you think. And just
Mm,
look for the little thing that maybe wasn't there before. And all of a
yeah,
sudden it is.
yeah,
And that's, to me, I've been using this term a lot lately, but that's magical.
yeah.
It's phenomenal.
That's really accurate because a lot of times they will say in the reading, or they'll make reference to a picture that moved, or a book that's fall off the case, or something's missing, and they reference that,
Hmm.
or they'll make specific reference to something that happened that should not have happened,
Yeah.
and they'll say, well, guess what, that was me. I want to make sure that I'm always around you, to the where sometimes they'll have what's referred to as proof of life. I can
Hmm.
remember a spirit, as part of their evidence that they are still around, brought up this remote viewing of what they saw. It was a green Jeep in somebody's driveway with the right front tire that was flat. And the spirit's going on and give me intricate, details and everything about the Jeep, where, what it was. And I was basically as if I was literally walking around the Jeep. So I'm starting to describe this whole thing about the Jeep with the right front flat tire. And the sinner is like, oh my God, and I couldn't believe it. And I'm just saying, spirit knows what's going on in your life because they are around you. And they
Yeah.
wanted to prove that they are still there.
So part of this stuff, when we're talking about this, and some may have said, "Oh, wait, you're just talking about, it's a fun experience, and it's an educational experience, and it's really cool and it's really real." I get that, but how does it help me as a person? And is sometimes when I've had opportunities in the past and different iterations of, I'm going to use a sweat lodge for an example. I used to pour sweats. And people would come up and they would ask me, would you do a sweat for me? And the first word or the first question I would ask is, why?
Hmm. Yeah.
And if all they wanted, and I respected them, but if all they wanted was to say, well, I've done a sweat, or I want the experience, and that's it. So what do we do with the situations of saying, why do we want to communicate with the spirits, and why do spirits want to communicate with us? And is it healthy? Is it healing? Is it comforting? Why should we need that part in our life?
Yeah, and that goes right back to the whole concept of why spirit comes in. It's because they want to bring through that transformational healing. They want to bring through that love. They want to bring through the fact that, yes, they still are very much alive. It's just that instead of being in the visual, they're now in the non-visual. Instead of being in the clearly audible, they're now in a place where you can't really hear them as well as you used to. The analogy I always tell people is just imagine them being in the room over there with the door closed. You can't see them. Can't hear them, but you sure know they're there. They
Mm-hmm.
haven't gone anywhere. They just happen to be in a dimension that you can't see, hear, or touch.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they've changed. They're still just alive. It's just they're in a different dimension. Imagine them being permanently on vacation down in the Caribbean, having a grand old time, the guy with the beer, and they are just having a wonderful, relaxed, non-burdened time where they are filled with love. And don't you wish you were with them?
Mm-hmm. So are these the spirits we're talking about here at this moment? We're kind of talking to ones that we knew in life and we knew in physical form, and they're here, and definitely they're around us. And they may not come to us in the daylight; they might come to us in dream time. I mean, that happens all the time.
Dream visitation,
because it's the best time that they got us.
They do.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, we also astral travel every night.
Oh, yeah.
And so most of the time we're not even going to remember it.
Mm-mm.
And that's kind of by design. But there are times where we will have a dream visitation where spirit will literally walk into our dreams specifically so that we can remember them. And it's so vivid that you'll remember it for the rest of your life. I mean, I can remember the first dream visitation I had with my dad 40 years ago. I can remember what it smelled like to this day. I mean, it was visceral.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You don't forget that stuff.
Mm-mm, you don't. So then there's the other one. Then there's I'm going to use, and sometimes the relatives are our spirit guides. I have no question about that. But sometimes they're a spirit guide that was somebody we may have known literally centuries ago, or someone we may have never even met.
Right.
But in the ethereal world, we made a connection and we made an agreement. This is what I believe.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to hear your thoughts, but I made an agreement with this spirit guide that they were going to help me in this life.
Yeah.
And one has just decided they're going to hang with me for all my life. And I'm very confident in that. They've been around the longest time. Mm-hmm. So what are spirit guides? What really are they, Chris? And why are they here? What's the point? And do they work? And are they important to us?
They're very important to us. They're very important to us, but they get a little frustrated because most of us don't even acknowledge their existence.
Bingo.
That's kind of that. So they're kind of on there trying to work. They're trying to, make themselves known, but we're just oblivious to them. The vast majority of people are just oblivious to them, or the ironic thing is that people want to know their spirit guides, but when they get the sign, they don't trust it.
Right.
It's like I don't know if I'd want to be a spirit guide because I'd be so frustrated. I'd be like, go.
Do you think everybody has one?
Oh, everybody absolutely has to have a spirit guide, does have a spirit guide, because when we decide to incarnate, we ask for somebody that has been trained as a spirit guide, because it's a very difficult job.
Look at us.
Yeah, look at us. To make sure that we stay on our soul contract and that we don't veer from that contract too far. Now, there is the stated universal law that says spirit cannot interfere with our free will.
Right.
Big caveat. And that's why most people, are not going to hear that little whisper in their head, because our monkey mind's constantly chattering away, yappity, 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 yep. And that little whisper is so subtle, so quiet, that even if we hear it, 99% of the time we'll just dismiss it as, It's kind of like, your gut reaction, So what? And most of the time when you hear it, you're not really paying attention to it. But that's also by design. I kind of call it the silent advisor. It's like the advisor who's just standing there waiting for you to say, come on in, give me what you got.
Bingo.
Otherwise, they're not going to interfere in your life. They're not going to be knocking you over the head unless there's like a specific emergency that they're trying to make you avoid, which does happen, where they're saying turn left.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There'll be people who are on the road, and all of a sudden they hear this loud voice out of nowhere, turn left immediately, and you're like, what? It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen.
Yeah.
Maybe they're trying to avoid an exit point, if you'll excuse the pun.
Yeah.
But guides are definitely here to help us stay, and I use the word help us stay on that soul contract, because it's so easy for us to get sidetracked, to just kind of veer off track, because we get that shiny object syndrome. We're always looking for something different. And obviously we have spiritual amnesia, so we don't remember what we're really here to do unless we ultimately find it. But most of the time we're just kind of oblivious. And spirit guides are here to talk with us, guide us, but we have to trust. We have to surrender. The biggest thing in connecting with spirit, whether it's a loved one or a guide, is trust and surrender.
Beautiful. Yeah. Trust and surrender. It's a primary. And yet we're hesitant because there's not much trust in the world itself. And so we're kind of put to task when it comes to that, and say, there's a lot of stuff I don't trust anymore. So why should I trust this voice that's in my head? And
or we don't trust ourselves, let alone a guide.
Well, yeah. I don't trust myself that I'm really hearing that, because, as you said earlier, am I nuts? Do I need to get on some Thorazine or something? Or what?
Self-doubt, totally.
And I remember, decades ago when I started looking at a lot of this stuff, I didn't talk about hearing voices in my head for the fear that I was going to be locked away.
Yeah, totally. That's absolutely why I've got a community designed specifically for that. Because a number of times I hear people say, "Oh, well, I think I'm experiencing something, but I don't have anybody to talk to, so I'm just going to hold it within." So I've developed this whole community designed specifically for that, so that people don't have to deal with that, so that they can share their experience and learn to grow. It's a spiritual growth mechanism.
So tell us more about the community. That sounds really interesting. That's intriguing.
Yeah, it was something that I wish I had when I was developing. Like I said, I had that time. I was like, oh my God, I am going crazy. And could I talk about anybody with that of many of my coworkers? Oh no, I would fire on the spot. And locked away, key thrown away, the whole thing. But I was looking around. There's nobody I could talk to. I didn't have any colleagues, didn't have any coworkers. My wife was kind of looking at me like I had three heads in the beginning. Slowly, she's gotten better.
Now she sees you have four, but go ahead.
Exactly. I mean, I probably always had three heads anyway, but who knows? I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. If you excuse the pun again. I'm full of them today. So I didn't have anybody to connect with. I didn't have anybody to work with, and it wasn't until I started going down the rabbit hole and doing all this research, I stumbled across this group that was not only a spiritual mechanism for teaching and developing, but it was also a mechanism of supporting each other, so that we could kind of turn to each other and say, hey, listen, I've had this experience, or I'm having this difficulty, or I'm having this struggle. What do you do? For example, like as a medium, we'll often go 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or we'll have frustration that, hey, one day is great, the next day sucks. Like, what do you do with this problem? And so it's that support mechanism that you turn to other people and you say, help. And it was that kind of community that I was searching for so long, until I found it. I'm like, God, I wish if only I had that at the very beginning, then everything would have really taken off.
Is this community mostly for mediums, or is it for anybody and everybody that's interested in this sort of thing?
It's designed for anybody who is undergoing a spiritual experience, spiritual growth. They're designed for people who are experiencing things and they don't know what to do with it.
Okay.
I can remember somebody calling me up with that very problem, saying, I know I'm intuitive. I know I'm seeing all these signs, but my family thinks I'm nuts. What do I do? I'm like, ding, that's exactly what this community is for. That's why. Yeah. And I'm like, come on in. Let's talk. And now she's part of the group, and it's like, it's wonderful. And it's designed not only for support, but it's also designed to teach, because within that community, there's, countless videos and articles and meditations and workshops and calls, and it's just designed to help and support and teach, and Like I said, everything I wish I had when I was beginning.
So how do people connect with this? Is it on the internet? Is it through your
Yeah.
website? Is it Facebook or what?
Yeah, no, it's its own portal, and people can look at it. It's under montclairmedium.com/soul-growth, and it's just basically it's a spiritual community that people can sign up for and explore. That's kind of where the training is.
Okay.
So
So that's something we need to put in the show notes, no
yeah,
doubt. It is very powerful stuff because basically we're unlocking stuff that is a lot of times it's kept away from us. And I
yeah.
think
Especially, I think, yes, exactly. It's kept away because it's like this whole society just kind of poo-poos it or
mhm,
puts it aside. I mean, there definitely is a spiritual awakening going on throughout the
mhm,
world
right.
these days, but it's still slow going. It's kind of like heavy lifting at this stage.
It is very much so. I know that in the practice of druidry, I'm a druid,
Oh,
and we talk about creating our physical grove. I have one beside my house, and I go out there and I'll meditate. I'll just call in spirits, or I'll have a little ceremony out there for myself, or whatever. But one of the things that you do when you go out there, I don't have to go out there. I can do this in my bed. I can
mm,
do it right here when I'm talking with you in my office. I could do it anywhere, but that is where I go into a deep, I'll say trance or a deep state of meditation. And I go into my quote, my spiritual grove. And when I go into my spiritual grove, that's where I call on my guides and my helpers and anyone else that wishes to come in with their highest and greatest, my highest and greatest good in mind. And it's phenomenal when we're able to communicate with people like this. I mean, we live in a fantastic world of technology, but
mm,
this stuff, Chris, has been around for thousands of
thousands of
years,
years.
and they've always been here,
Yeah,
and they're always right there next to us. All we have to do is acknowledge them,
right.
and they're happy to help us.
Well, what's so interesting, and again, this, I mean, you touched on it. It's technology versus ancient scripture, ancient knowledge. What really attracted me was when I started dabbling, I'll say dabble, with quantum physics
Mm,
because it touched on and again, I was coming from a very research-oriented material mindset. So I had to have something that bridged the gap between the material and the non-material, the physical and the non-physical. So what bridged it? Quantum physics. Suddenly, quantum physics was proving what ancient wisdom already knew.
right.
And they both were speaking the same language, one from science, one from ancient wisdom. I was like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. And that's when
Yeah.
I basically swallowed the hook and said, I'm sold. I'm in.
Yeah. And that seems to be one of the things that's come up I've noticed it in recent months or recent past few years is quantum physics seems to be almost like a springboard to get
Oh yeah.
people into this sort of thing because
Yeah.
it's mind-boggling when you start to read about it. And his name slips me for the moment, but he put out a book called The Dancing Wu Li Masters. There's a title.
Wow.
The Dancing Wu Li Masters. Gary Zukav, that's his name.
Okay.
Um,
Yes.
he described it as a layman's book on quantum physics.
Yeah.
And he brings quantum physics down into practical terminology that we can understand without having the need to be Leonard or one of those from Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
you
Exactly.
know, and it is easier to realize it and easier to understand than we give it credit for.
Right.
And it's like anything else, just let go and accept some of this stuff. And if all else fails, I know, why don't I go talk to my guide or talk to my helper or talk to my loved one who's passed on because they actually know more about it than I do.
Oh, they are way more, and yeah, they know more about it than the scientists, the quantum scientists, ancient Vedic literature. And they'll prove it to you. The question is, you just have to open up because it doesn't matter what vehicle it is, whether it's quantum physics or ancient Vedic wisdom or a reading. If you don't believe it, it doesn't matter what vehicle you try. Nothing's gonna make you turn. You have to finally accept it in your own heart. It's like, what was it? Pharaoh had to open his heart or something like that. It's the
Hmm.
same idea. You have to ultimately to say to yourself, all right, I I believe because it's that one, it's a scary place to go. It's like the word I believe or the phrase I believe is a scary concept. I mean, unless of course, suddenly there's this your loved one materializes in front of you and starts talking to you, and you have a conversation back and forth, you're going to believe instantly. But
Sure.
most people don't have that experience. So uh, that's kind of where you have to kind of go to this place of believing and trusting. That's the ultimate thing. It's very difficult.
Can when we're talking about a lot of this and we look at spiritual aspects and we look at spirits and we talk about communicating with spirits, be they a spirit guide, be they a lost loved one, and we start to think about this, but what do we do if we are in a position, and I'm talking from the position of somebody who's listening, who is interested in this, but they're afraid that it's going to divorce them from their religion.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great question. And the spirituality and religion are two different things.
They
And
are.
a lot of people think they're the same thing.
Mm-mm.
Religion is a very organized, I'll refer to it as an indoctrinated, structured way of following a specific belief, often derived upon a specific person that's structured in a hierarchy of people that tell the followers, this is what you're going to believe, this is how you're going to believe it, and you're going to work through us as the people who will help you connect. Whereas spirituality is one's personal interaction with your higher source, whatever you believe that to be, universe, source, God, Buddha, you whatever name you want to apply it. It's whatever you believe the higher source is. It's your one-on-one personal interaction. You don't need anybody else.
Mm-mm.
It's your connection. You follow it. So you can have a spiritual connection and still be, religious. Still observe your religion. They're separate. If you have a religious belief that says you've got to say 10 Hail Marys or you've got to, pray a certain way or at a certain time, great. Doesn't mean you can't still be spiritual.
That's right.
They're, in fact, all religions are based on spirituality. All
Hmm.
religions are based on the concept that there's a higher power.
Yep.
It's just a question of, ah, I'm man, I'm going to control the way it's derived. I'm going to control the direction. I'm going to control how you follow it. Doesn't mean it's necessarily bad, although religion in the Middle Ages has certainly given it a bad rap. In fact, there's been more blood spilt in the name of religion than anything else in the world.
Yeah. When we're looking at things like this and we see that it's been around for so many thousands of years, and when we really connect, what's a good way to nurture that, would you say, when you really start to feel like, oh, this is really happening? And I hear you, and it'll be in the show notes, everyone, for connecting and with the group that Chris is referring to. But on a day-to-day level, what do you suggest? What seems to work with this sort of thing?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think perhaps the first thing you should be doing in the very beginning is to meditate. And a lot of people back off and say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa! I can't meditate. That's like I said, the guy from the Hindu Kush. That's not for me."
Hmm.
Well, the concept of meditation is just relaxing. You meditate all the time. You don't even realize it. You could be out gardening. That's
Yep.
meditation. You could be out
Yes.
walking. That's meditation. You could be out in nature. That's meditation. You could be driving on a long distance trip. That time that suddenly disappears, you're like, whoa, where'd that time go? You were meditating. The rest of your brain took over. You were gone somewhere and you just kept on driving. You zoned
Yes.
out. You zoned out. That's all meditation is. You're literally in the zone. You're gone. It's you could be a 5-year-old or 10-year-old in grade school. You're looking out that window in the springtime going, "Oh, I can't wait to be playing out there." You're not in the classroom anymore. You're out there. That's
Yep.
daydreaming. That's kind of meditating. the teacher may also say, hey, come back, stop meditating. But the concept of meditation is just allowing your mind to relax, allowing your mind to chill out. And when a lot of people are gardening or walking or in the garden or in nature or whatever it is that they're doing, they're in this place of relaxation. A lot of people listen to ambient background music. This calm down. A lot of people will close their eyes and just relax. It doesn't have to be this stiff posture of like the, with your mudras or your Zen or your feet posture. You don't have to have all that. It helps, but you don't have to do that. There's no one specific way that it has to be. And then the other big complaint is, oh, well, my mind is constantly going and it's always distracting, or I can't sit still. And, okay, do it for 5 minutes. Can you sit still for 5 minutes? Great. Do you enjoy listening to music for 5 minutes? You sure do. Just do that. And just, do you like being in a salt bath for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes? It's all about self-care. It's all about the idea of self-love. Just allow yourself to take it easy for a minute. Allow yourself just to, hang back. If you can do that, and if you can do that on a consistent basis, whether again it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and there are like hundreds of thousands, millions of guided meditations on the internet, on apps like Calm or Insight Timer or whatever. Just listen to a guided meditation for 5-10 minutes, or even that background music. Close your eyes, relax, sit in a chair somewhere, and just go, turn off your phone or silence it, whatever. If you do it for 5 minutes, it'll work wonders. It doesn't take a long time. And if you do it every day, every other day, you'll start to find, hey, I kind of enjoy this thing. I look forward to it. So if you get into this rhythm of meditating and relaxing and more self-care, you'll be just a little bit more peaceful. And that monkey mind, that chattering mind, that obnoxious, what I refer to as Frankie brain that's constantly going, during that time, you'll start to step aside. You'll start to get quieter. And in those moments of quiet, in those moments of silence, that's when the magic happens. That's when spirit can start to make itself known, because all of a sudden you're hearing that whisper, because the noise and that was outside, it's not there anymore. All of a sudden you might hear something, you might become aware of something, a thought may drop in out of nowhere. Next thing you know, not only are you more calm, and you're feeling a lot better about yourself, and that peace is just going out to everybody else because you're a more peaceful person all of a sudden. You're starting to connect with spirit. You're opening up a pathway to allow spirit to connect with you. That's really all you're doing. You don't have to. The big rule in connecting with spirit is to not try.
Yes.
It's like saying, don't think of the pink elephant. Oh, as soon as you say that, you're done for. But the less you try, the more you allow, the better the connection. It's kind of backwards, but you're not doing anything. Spirit's been trying to reach you the whole time. You just haven't been letting them in. The second you quiet down, the second you just let them in, they're like, thank God this person shut up for once. And they start to let in.
But isn't that life itself, when you think about it, the way that we move through this life, and how often it is not just working with the spirits, it's not just in mediumship, it's not just in getting readings, doing readings, or what have you. It's everything. When you think about it, that when I stop trying, things happen.
Yeah,
that's such a big point.
Yeah,
that when I give up, the universe finally says, "Thank God." Or thank the gods, he finally or she finally listened.
We have to get out of our own way.
Yeah.
It's very much like the concept that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and we should use in that proportion.
Were you on my shoulder yesterday when I was interviewing somebody about that? That's one of my favorite lines. I meant to tell you, hey,
remember I'm psychic too.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. We were connected before we were connected.
There we go.
Oh, that we can really go down a rabbit hole of that. Does that happen to you? It's happened to me.
Yeah.
Where you connect with the person before they're there, and you look at them, and they come into your place. You're coming to your space.
I did that with a reading once.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Where I was giving a reading to somebody, and this couple's coming in, and they're giving all this insane amount of detail about their dining room and the furniture in their dining room, the color, it's like they got a video camera and they're literally giving me all the detail, doing the same thing with their living room. And it's like old furniture, kind of a darkish, building and whatever. I'm just going on and on and on and on. Person just kind of looks at me and goes, I have no idea who you're talking about. And nobody else would come through. But these people were going to come through and make themselves known. I was like, all right, here you go. And they were the only ones who came through, and this person did not have a clue who they were. I'm like saying, sorry, it's all we're getting. So yeah, we had to close the session. Very next session, the same information's coming through. Old couple, the dining room, the living room, the old furniture, insane detail, video view, the whole thing. And as I'm going through this person's shaking, going, my grandparents, my kid, oh my God. It's like these grandparents were so adamant that they were so determined to come through. They came through before in the reading before. I was like, what, you couldn't wait?
No,
really not.
I've run into that. I got it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It was so frustrating.
And you go, guys, just chill. It's all right.
I was like, wait a second. Don't you know who you're supposed to be reading for? You know who you're supposed to be connecting. You got the wrong channel.
So I saw something here on your bio, and it's a term I'd like to understand a little more so. What is a trance medium? You've identified yourself as a trance medium, and I think I know, but tell me.
A trance medium is where a trance itself is when you allow your mind to step out of the way. You're no longer so in control, if you were, that you're controlling your thoughts and saying, this is the way I'm going to be. It's you allow your mind to not shut down 100%, but to fully allow everything that comes through and just be the pure vessel, be the pure instrument, not from a conscious perspective, but from a very, I'll call it virtually unconscious perspective, where you allow spirit to use your body to speak. They're not controlling your body. It's not possession, which is what scares so many people. They're like, I don't want to do trance. I'm afraid the spirit's going to, abuse me. Well, that's not what this is, because you set the intention to connect only with love, light, and truth, and the highest good for all concerned. And it's love, and it's only the highest vibration. So that's come through. You as you set the intention, that's what you get. And you allow these guides to come in, and these guides come in. And they will speak their philosophy through you, and they'll give advice. They will give philosophy. They'll give concepts of what a person might need to do. Many times it's done in a circle, like a mediumship circle, and this is a trance circle, where there'll be a moderator, and the people in the circle will each have they'll all be in trance, and we'll each be having our guides speaking different truths or philosophies, or whoever it is that's coming through. Everybody says something completely amazing. When you come out of it and you either watch a replay or you watch the video and you get it transcribed, you're reading this thing, and it's like, oh my God, that's amazing. and it's coming through with oftentimes different voices, different intonations, different sounds. Some people will not remember anything they said. That's a deep trance. They're like April Crawford, I think, is a deep trance medium, where she's completely out, and it's like somebody turned off the lights and somebody else stepped in, and it's like all of a sudden her guide Veronica steps in, and it's just going off. It's like what is it? The Seth Chronicles, or the Seth right? Whatever. Same thing. So that's really what a trance session is. And as a trance medium, what I'll do is go into trance for a client and allow my guides to begin speaking to the client and try to allow them to speak to whatever it is that is either on their mind, or the guides will give the philosophies or needs. Quite often they'll speak in not parables, but similes and roundabout ways as examples of what needs to get done in a crystal clear way, because the examples are so much more clear than saying you got to do A, B, and C. It's the example that's like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. And you'll feel, the client will feel this heartfelt love connection, because again, guides only come through with love, and it's palpable, tangible, and amazing. And more often than not, the guides will say things and connect with something so much deeper than the client thought they needed. They think they need one thing. Guides like saying, well, yeah, you need this, but you need all these other things here, and let's address this. And it's like an even deeper rooted thing that was kind of addressing this one thing up here, but they go down to the root of everything else. Yeah. And they're like, we know what you need. You thought you needed this, but we're going to show you need a lot more that is addressing that one thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not necessarily a mystery, and they don't try to make it a mystery. They try to be as basic about it as they can, and that's why sometimes we might dismiss it and say that's too simple. Well,
you're absolutely right. It does come through in such simple mechanism. They try to make things so darn easy to understand. It's us humans that complicate everything. So it's really amazing. If it hadn't been me saying it, I probably would screw it up. So I'll know it's the guides that are talking when they're eloquent, they're funny, they're talking in these great analogies that are so apropos, and you're just like, wow. I get it now.
Do you think that when we talk about, we really are kind of sticking with the same subject matter when you think about it? It's how we're surrounded by the spirits, and how guides are around us all the time, and how they're more than willing to listen and more than willing to help. And when we are faced in situations like this, my brain likes to go toward multidimensional stuff, and you think, well, where are they? Are they in a different dimension than I am? And if so, how many dimensions are there? And it's just, it really, that goes back to the quantum physics stuff for me. And I think about the multidimensional universe, and we think two-dimensionally in a three-dimensional world with the potential of having a fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, and we don't even know what that is.
Oh yeah. Talk to somebody about, oh yes, well, you're in the fourth dimension. Somebody looks like you got your head screwed on backwards.
That's it.
There's well, perhaps in the fourth dimension you would have your head screwed on backwards, because that's the way they all look. I don't know.
Do you suppose we do have multi dimensions?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because the concept of any, I guess the ultimate way to look at it is the concept of actually having any one particular dimension at any one particular time is our limited mindset being able to grasp onto the limited reality that we can understand, because the only reality we actually understand is the physical reality that we see with our senses. It's like Plato's allegory of the cave. If you know that, for viewers, the allegory is that you've got these three prisoners in a cave. They've been locked onto a wall for their entire life. All they know is what they see in the cave and the shadow people coming from the fire. They know nothing else. One day, this person escapes, the chains break. He runs out of the cave. Lo and behold, he sees nature and animals and sunshine and beauty and all these different things, completely different than what he's ever known in his entire life. He runs back to his fellow cave mates and says, you won't believe what I've seen out there. There are all these beautiful animals and sunshine and trees and grass and colors I've never seen. Oh my gosh, it's a totally different world out there. And his fellow people go, that's just not possible. That's not real. We don't know what you're talking about because they've never seen it. They wouldn't know it. How could they know it if they've never seen it? So it's exactly the same thing as us trying to describe what the spirit world is like or another dimension is like if we've never seen it, because all we know is what we have right here, what we've grown up with. It's like we're little fish in a fishbowl. We've never seen what's beyond the fishbowl.
Yeah. Yeah. And when I get involved sometimes with taking people on a journey, for an example, in shamanic work, their first journey is, or even under if I have a hypnotherapy person, if I'm a hypnotherapist and if I have somebody under and I'm talking with them and I say, I want to know every detail that you see. I'm the guy with the flashlight. You're the one that's taking the walk. I don't see everything that you're seeing, but I want you to describe everything that you see.
Yeah.
And I go on with that saying, if you see a 3-headed dog with 63 eyes, I want to know about it.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I know their brain is saying, that's not possible. Oh, wait.
What's that? Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's like, how could we possibly know, A, that the spirit world really exists, or B, what it actually looks like if we've never been there? I mean, we do go there all the time, but we have spiritual amnesia, A, because it was designed for spiritual amnesia, but B, we also are going there to connect, but it's designed that we don't remember it when we come back.
Yeah.
Because if we actually did know what it was like, we wouldn't want to be here at all.
Yeah. Yeah. The spirits are so important when you think about that. It's not only the spirits that are around us, but when our spirit is able to communicate with their spirit, then we can find out stuff about what our soul really needs and what our soul's real desire is. And that's where more magic takes place. That's probably another podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's a couple more. Yeah, I mean, it's like, what is our soul's desire? What is our soul's purpose? What did we really come down here on this earth to learn, to do? And so many people struggle with that. They're like, what's my purpose? Well, what do you feel in your heart? If you go into your heart will always tell you the truth.
Yeah.
It will always direct you in the perfect direction. It's your internal compass. Don't follow your head. Your head is where your ego lives. Follow your heart. That's where truth lives, because that's where love lives. So follow that, and you will never, ever go wrong or get lost.
Nice. That's the way I just sign a book, as I say, follow your heart and spirit. You'll never be lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So now it's time for the question, Chris.
Oh, here we go. All right.
All right. So what does Chris Lippincott do for creating a better life for himself?
What I do, as I kind of touched on a little bit, is focus on self-care. And one of the most important things that I do, as I also touched on, is meditation. I meditate every single day. It was tough in the beginning, but as I got used to it and I started to enjoy it more and more, I meditate every day. Initially, I was listening to audible tracks. I was listening to tracks on Insight Timer because I couldn't rest. Then after I kind of got used to that and my body kind of got more relaxed, my Frankie brain started saying, all right, I'll check out for 20 minutes. Then I was able to get into a place of more and more peace. And then I started citing mantras to really focus and to visualize. And just really, by the time I've done my 20-minute daily meditation, I've traveled to the hinterworlds and really explored what's possible and opened myself to whatever spirit needs to connect with me. But more often than not, it's not an expectation of anything. Sometimes they connect, sometimes they don't. I don't care. It's whatever they need, because it's like I'm just open and allowing, and it just allows me to be in a place of calm and peace, and God knows I need it. So at that point, I find myself, and I do it in the morning to start my day, kind of like I did when I was going to work. I'll do that in the beginning of the day, and I just find, even before I have coffee, very important. And I'll find myself just being so calm for the rest of the day. I'm actually not a grouch, as my wife calls me. So it really helps kind of take that edge off. It really helps take me to a place of higher understanding, higher feeling, higher connection, allows me to go to places that I wouldn't otherwise go. It allows me to receive things I wouldn't otherwise receive. It helps me just kind of be the person that I ultimately enjoy becoming.
Beautiful. Yeah. So we know you have a podcast, Spirits Beside Us. And if people want to connect with Chris, how do they go about doing it, Chris?
Sure. Probably the best way would be through email, I guess, chris@montclairmedium.com. Or, if they want to join the community, they can go to montclairmedium.com/soul-growth. They can connect through that. Or just, anything on the website, montclairmedium.com, and, get all my stuff there.
Cool. And you're available to obviously, work with people one-on-one. I'm going to guess, do you do it like we're doing like right now through Zoom, or do you do it in person, or how do you usually do your work?
Yeah, both. I mean, majority of the time it's done through Zoom because, it's international. I mean, I've got clients around the globe, and it's gotten so easy now that everybody from, anybody who speaks English. Actually,
So
I take that back. Even people who don't speak English, because spirit has no language.
that's right. Yeah. We could easily go down another rabbit hole. We'll try to keep it short and sweet, but I've heard some people talk about it, and personally, I just want to know what you feel. Forget about personally. What are your thoughts about how effective a Zoom reading would be versus an in-person reading?
Great question. It's equally as effective, and in some cases, some people.
But why?
I'll tell you why. Some people actually make the argument that it's actually stronger, and here's the reason why. Number one, spirit's not physical, so they don't need to be anywhere. They can be anywhere, anytime, any place, anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
So the energy is irrelevant because there is no physical issue there. The trick is that spirit has actually taught us that they actually prefer using the electronic format because why? The computer is a box of energy. They use that energy like a battery, the same way they would use us humans as the battery in a physical reading where we're actually, in person, where they would use you as the battery and me as the person who's receiving that energy. With the computer, they can tap into not only the sitter's energy, but they can tap into the energy that's coming out of the computer, and that's a huge boom for them. So they learned, long ago how to figure that out. Then they started teaching us, this is what we should be doing. So they are actually able to work with that tremendously well. And since they're utilizing that energy, like I said with that guy with the beer mug, they come in and it's like they're right here. I'm like,
Okay.
Whoa, okay, hey, zap.
Yeah, makes sense to me. I totally get it. Another podcast.
Oh, yeah, that could be an entire episode right there.
Well, Chris, this has been great. I appreciate it so much. And everyone, there's going to be plenty of information in the show notes about connecting with Chris and connecting with the group. I think that's phenomenal what you're doing with that so that we don't feel crazy most of the time.
Which is so easy to do.
Yeah. So, Chris, go enjoy your day and enjoy the life around us. Enjoy the spirits around us.
Absolutely. And thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure.
Well, that's our show. And thank you, Chris, for helping us understand about communing with spirit guides for our personal growth. Check out the show notes for more information about Chris Lippincott, his classes, books, and how he can help you. And speaking of help, if you're seeking insights and advice on how to create a better life for yourself, and if you'd like to dive into your own self-care, self-development, distant shamanic work, or Reiki, drop me a line, kevin@towardabetterlife.com for your free discovery call. You can also visit my website, towardabetterlife.com, for past episodes, blog entries, ways to enhance your spiritual journey, and a few products to assist you on your journey. Send all inquiries to me, kevin@towardabetterlife.com. Please subscribe to the program through your favorite podcast platform and leave a review on Apple and Spotify podcast. It helps to spread the word about towardabetterlife.com. and toward a better life, and help to create, well, a better life. If you have any questions, or if you'd like to share a story, music or prose, if it's an audio file, just send it to me as an MP3, or if you want to be my guest, please write to me, one more time, kevin@towardabetterlife.com. Until next week, enjoy your very special journey toward a better life.